Welcome back. Well, there's a new way to experience doctor's visits both virtually and in person with new technology that allows clinicians to better connect with patients to capture the full patient story. Joining me to talk about Nuance's Dragon Ambient experience, also called DAX, Kenneth Harper, Vice President, General Manager of Ambient Clinical Intelligence and Virtual Assistance for Nuance, and Dr. Hal Baker, Senior Vice President, Chief Digital and Chief Information Officer of WellSpan. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Let me start with you, Kenneth. Tell us all about Dragon Ambient Experience and how it works in a clinical setting.
Yeah, so there's this new technology category called ambient computing. The whole idea being using artificial intelligence to make the places we live and work in smarter. And so Nuance DAX, that's what we call it, Dragon Ambient Experience or DAX. This is an example of an ambient solution in healthcare. And the way that it works is when you as a patient, you see your primary care physician or maybe a specialist, you're talking about your symptoms, and then the doctor is providing the diagnosis and the treatment plan. DAX is able to listen into that conversation and take the context of what's being discussed and create a clinical document that clearly summarizes your care. And so instead of the doctor having to work in the computer and do some of that clerical work while the patient is there in the exam room, DAX is able to do that documentation for the doctor, freeing up a lot of time so that the doctor can focus energy on the patient.
Dr. Baker, how is DAX used during a patient's visit with the doctor?
At WellSpan, we've used the phone app for it, and I simply walk into the room, I hit the little green button to start the microphone, and it just sits down next to the microphone, next to the telephone, next to the patient, and listens to our conversation. You know, we tell our kids not to text while they're driving because it's distracting, and yet as doctors, we know that we've sometimes felt distracted as we try to enter data into the computer while we're talking to a patient, and patients have perceived us as sometimes not having their full attention. That's something that I think we're now seeing go away because with the phone, we can just have a conversation. It's not an interview anymore. And DAX will take care of turning that all into a medical note appropriately, filtering out the chit chat or the stories of the local events, but getting that note down in the right medical terminology for the insurance company, for the record, and in a lot of detail. And so it's really freed up the doctor to focus just on the patient. And that's been really cool and really rewarding.
Well, that has to free up a lot of time and allow you to be able to focus on your relationship with the patient, right?
That absolutely is what we're hearing. We've been surveying patients because this was new. We didn't know how people would react to it. But patients tell us that they feel like the physician is more attentive to them, paid more attention to them and less to the computer. And our doctors are telling us the same thing, that they don't want to give this up because it makes them enjoy what they went to medical school for, being a doctor, being with people.
Do patients have an opportunity to get a copy of what's been transcribed?
Yes, well, most health systems now have a patient portal, and most of us put the notes of the patient interaction on the portal. So a patient will see that DAX listened to their conversation, took very good notes. It does turn the conversation from words that we use colloquially in conversation into the appropriate medical terminology. So it's not a pure transcript. But it does a very good job of giving that note, and the patient can read it and see that their conversation was listened to by DAX as well as their doctor.
And Kenneth, when you were developing the system, the goal was to free up doctors' time and, of course, to have more accurate notes. What are some of the possibilities for DAX in the future?
Yeah, there's a world of possibility as you think about the next couple of years ahead of us and where the technology is going to go. Today, DAX works on the documentation, documenting the care of the visit. But if you think about what DAX is really doing, it's understanding clinically what's happening as you are speaking with the patient. And so the opportunity ahead of us is DAX can actually bring, based on that understanding, recommendations and suggestions and other information, and make sure the doctor has that as the conversation is ensuing to make sure all the information is available to help the doctor make the very best decision on the treatment plan on behalf of the patient. And so you can think of this as moving just from documentation to moving into more clinical awareness, all in the spirit of making sure we're helping drive successful outcomes for the patient.
You know, there's a lot of administrative work that goes into the doctor-patient hospital relationship. So this has to have greatly reduced that workload?
I think the biggest freedom is the cognitive load of trying to catalog that note in your head so you can put it down on paper or into the computer after the visit is over. Freeing the doctor up from that, at least for me, has made a huge difference in my ability to feel like I'm just focused on the patient and not trying to catalog every little detail, because I know Ken and his technology are going to take care of that for us.
Where can we go for more information?
Yeah, so if you check out nuance.com/ambient, that's where you can get information on how DAX works and how healthcare organizations today are adopting it and some of the outcomes it's helping drive.
My guests have been Kenneth Harper, Vice President, General Manager of Ambient Clinical Intelligence and Virtual Assistance at Nuance, and Dr. Hal Baker, Senior Vice President, Chief Digital and Chief Information Officer of WellSpan. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.